we're on this cruise liner-like island where everyone is fighting for the same cabin, because that's how it feels like.
It's a nice analogy. It's a cruise liner like island.
Yeah, we like to explain it like that because it's this kind of mentality. I mean, everyone thinks we're on this high life, but really and truly we're just in this closed space. But at the same time, it has always held some form of special place in history and with different people. And we have absorbed so many cultures because of the people passing through.
Yeah.
That now we have this weird, let me call it weird, language. People don't know what to do with it. They say it sounds like Arabic, sounds like Italian. We maybe not realize so much that we have all these Spanish and French words. So I guess it is a melting pot of cultures. And even if you notice the difference between being in Malta or being in Italy, the diversity we have in Malta, especially with food.
Yeah.
I mean, here you can order whatever you like from wherever you are, and you're going to be fed.
Yeah.
So whether it's Filipino food, Italian, Indian, Arabic, whatever you like, there is in Malta. But in Italy, it's impossible. In France, it's difficult. I mean, there's a lot of Tunisian and...
What does this say about us as a nation?
We're more not developed, but we have always been diverse, and we are still diverse. And no matter how much we complain and say, oh, because migrants are coming, taking work, or they're ruining our society, or let's throw them back, or go back to our country, that's the most rubbish I've heard, because throughout history, we've been mixing with different nations forever. If you look hundreds of years ago when we had slaves, we had Arab slaves. We've had African slaves. We've had slaves from Turkey because we've captured them from whatever ships and make them our own. But then we would end up making friends with them. But then we would enjoy their coffee. And that's how we got our coffee. And then we start trading the coffee and then, And at the same time, why would it be weird to include Japanese in our culture? They're so far away. Not really, because during World War I, we had a couple of Japanese ships passing through. We had the Germans as well. We had the French. When the French Navy came into, I don't know the details, when they came into our harbor, we saluted them. People knew French words because they were hearing them. So, there's this influence. When there was the Russian Revolution, the connection, the remaining family was brought to Malta for 9 days by the British. They stayed at St. Anton Palace before they went to London. And this is still known by certain people and it's still appreciated, So we have all these different connections with all these different cultures. But we still try to define ourselves as purely Maltese, to define ourselves as the proper, pure Maltese speakers. Maltese is something very, very recent. We spoke Italian forever. We were trying to speak English like the Brits, who were colonials, so I forgot the word. We were speaking Spanish before the Knights came because we wanted to get along with our rulers. It's been like this forever. Yeah. So what are we really? What is really Maltese? We're living it. It's we have a language that's alive, we have a culture that's alive, and it's the same as it has been forever. So the only difference, one last point about this, is that we now rule ourselves. And I think that's where we started to lose the plot a bit.
That was where I was heading, because yes, I agree with the fact that we are diverse and we have a very rich history. Sometimes, however, we not only do not appreciate where we came from, but it's sort of that we feel that we are a shadow of someone else. And yes, it might be related to the fact that we were ruled or part of a bigger sort of nation who ruled over us, be it the Knights, be it the Brits, be it the French. We are always taken care of. That ever since we got our independence, we still have that feeling.
You know, it maybe feels a bit negative saying this, and at the same time I don't blame us, but I think most of our negative aspects as a Maltese nation now comes from the fact that before we were sort of oppressed. Let me say sort of, because there are good and bad things about being colony. But before we had this idea that there was always our lords, whether when we were under the Knights or whether when we were under the feudal system of the Spanish kingdom, whatever it is. We were never our own owners. We were never the lords. We were never the counts.
I don't think we are yet.
But we are in a way, because now the way we are owning lands and we sort of manage our own resources, we are all little lords of our own property. And I find this like, because I have land there and I bought this, there is this feeling.
Materialistically, yes. But in terms of attitude.
No, in terms of attitude, we're trying to pick up on the materialistic side.
Yeah.
And I see this even the way we treat waiters in restaurants. And especially, well, not God forbid, but especially if it's a foreigner. Most of them are foreigners.
Yeah.
But we tend to treat them badly because we think that they are slaves. Because now we are a senor and a senora.
Yeah.
And we expect to be treated like royalty. I think we need to rethink this, because it doesn't mean that now we are our own lords. It doesn't mean that we need to start looking at others as, like we say, Maltese to be. You know, I think this is where we really need to reevaluate our identity in that sense. But it's my perspective.
Knowing all of this and being curious about this, how was this? How did this impact your self-discovery and personal growth?
I think to me it's everything. Because I always have this question. It's always ongoing. If I had to relocate and leave Malta, because most of the time you feel claustrophobic on the island. It's limited where you can travel, where you can do this. Where would I go? Where would I associate myself with most? How can I integrate more in one culture and not in another? Would it be in Far East Asia? Would it be in the traditional immigration countries like Australia or Canada or America or the UK? Or are there any other weird places that I would consider?
Yeah.
Maybe in the heart of Africa? I don't know. So, again, that is also part of my curiosity in trying to discover the Mediterranean. Is there a similar culture to us that can offer what Malta offers, what I like, but also can give me what Malta cannot offer me? You know, it's this continuous question, seeking what I can be, what did not exist, so what did materialize? These are the questions that I'm always asking myself.
What do you would like to find out after all of this?
Well, I think in reality I'm going to find out that, like the cliche says, the world is my oyster. You know, so I'll find it difficult to say that I am stuck to my village, Joeaby, and I am associated with Festa. Entity there might be. I just need to be everywhere, all the time, because I can't choose. I believe in a world of and, not or. So if you tell me, okay, so it's either this or that, my questions would be, why isn't it this and that? One life, we need to explore, we need to discover, we need to be.